What if some of Washington State's greatest ancient mysteries are still hiding in plain sight? Beneath the waters of the Columbia River may lie lost villages, sacred sites, and forgotten stories buried by time and rising reservoirs. And at the Manis Mastodon site, a single bone revealed evidence of hunters who may have lived nearly 14,000 years ago, challenging everything we thought we knew about the first Americans. Who were these people? What secrets remained hidden beneath the river and the soil? Join us as we uncover two fascinating mysteries that continue to puzzle archaeologists and historians to this day. The Sea Columbia River. What if I told you that one of the greatest mysteries in Washington State is hiding beneath a river that millions of people have seen, crossed, and depended on for generations? A river so powerful that entire villages, ancient artwork, sacred places, and pieces of human history vanished beneath its waters before researchers could fully understand. It is about an entire forgotten world hidden beneath the Columbia River. The Columbia River is one of the largest rivers in North America. Today is known for its beautiful scenery, hydroelectric dams, fishing, and transportation. But long before modern cities appeared, the river was the center of life for Native American communities. For thousands of years, people lived along its banks. They built villages, hunted animals, caught salmon, traded goods, created artwork, and passed down stories from one generation to another. The problem is that much of that history is now gone from sight. When archaeologists began studying the Columbia River region, they quickly realized that people had been living there for an incredibly long time. Stone tools, campsites, fishing locations, and ancient remains suggested that humans occupied the area thousands of years before Europeans arrived. Every discovery seemed to raise another question. Who were these early people? Where did they come from? How many settlements existed along the river? What did their daily lives look like? The answers should have been hidden underground, waiting to be uncovered. Instead, many of them disappeared beneath water. During the 20th century, several large dams were built along the Columbia River. These dams brought major benefits. They generated electricity, helped control flooding, improved navigation, and supported economic growth throughout the region. Entire communities benefited from the power they produced. But there was another side to the story. As reservoirs filled behind the dams, water levels rose dramatically. Valleys flooded, shorelines changed. Areas that had remained untouched for thousands of years suddenly vanished beneath deep water. Ancient campsites, fishing locations, burial grounds, rock carvings, and village remains were submerged forever. Nor researchers raced against time, document as much as possible before the flooding began. In some places they succeeded, in many others they did not. That is where the mystery begins. No one knows exactly how many archaeological sites were lost beneath the Columbia River reservoirs. Records exist for some locations, but experts believe many more sites disappeared before they could ever be studied. Some may still lie hidden beneath layers of water and sediment today. Imagine standing on the riverbank thousands of years ago. You might have seen smoke rising from village fires, children running near the shoreline, fishermen preparing nets, traders arriving from distant regions carrying valuable goods, families gathering around stories that connected them to the land. Now imagine all of it slowly disappearing beneath rising water. That hidden world still exists somewhere below the surface. One of the most fascinating clues comes from ancient petroglyphs. These are images carved into rock surfaces by people long ago. Along parts of the Columbia River, petroglyphs recorded symbols, animals, human figures, and designs whose meanings are not always fully understood. Some carvings survived, others were damaged. Some disappeared beneath reservoir waters. Researchers continue to debate the purpose of certain symbols. Were they spiritual messages, territorial markers, records of important events, teaching tools for future generations? Nobody knows for certain. The river keeps many of those answers to itself. The mystery grows even deeper when we look at trade networks. Evidence suggests that people living along the Columbia River were connected to communities hundreds of miles away. Items found at archaeological sites indicate that goods moved across large distances long before modern roads existed. Obsidian, shells, tools, and other materials traveled through trade routes stretching across the Pacific Northwest. How extensive were these networks? Who organized them? How did information travel between distant groups? Archaeologists have uncovered pieces of the puzzle, but the complete picture remains hidden. Many experts believe that important evidence may still be buried beneath flooded areas of the river system. Modern technology can help locate some sites, but underwater archaeology is difficult, expensive, and often limited by visibility and depth. Every year that passes may bury these clues even deeper beneath layers of mud and sediment. Another mystery involves the true number of villages that once lined the Columbia River. Historical accounts from early explorers describe thriving communities throughout the region. Yet researchers suspect many settlements were never recorded. Some villages may have existed for centuries before disappearing naturally through floods, erosion, or environmental changes. Others may have been abandoned and forgotten long before outsiders arrived. If those settlements now rest beneath reservoir waters, discovering them becomes far more challenging. The Columbia River also holds mysteries connected to fishing culture. For countless generations, salmon played a central role in life along the river. Fishing locations became gathering places where families met, traded, celebrated, and shared traditions. Certain fishing sites were so important that they attracted people from distant regions. Today, some of those locations remain active and respected. Others disappeared when water levels changed after dam construction. Researchers can identify some ancient fishing areas, but many details about how these communities operated have been lost. What traditions were practiced there? What stories were told? What ceremonies took place? The answers may have vanished beneath the water. There is also the question of what remains undiscovered. Archaeologists often say that every excavation reveals how much more there is to learn. Along the Columbia River, that statement feels especially true. Some experts believe important sites may still exist beneath shorelines, islands, and underwater landscapes that have never been fully surveyed. New technologies such as sonar mapping and remote sensing may eventually reveal locations that are invisible today. Imagine finding an entire village hidden beneath the riverbed. Imagine discovering artwork untouched for thousands of years. Imagine uncovering evidence that changes our understanding of early human life in the Pacific Northwest. Those possibilities keep researchers searching. At the same time, nature continues to reshape the region. River currents move sediment. Seasonal changes alter shorelines. Erosion exposes some sites while burying others. In a strange way, the Columbia River is both preserving history and hiding it. That creates a race against time. Every new discovery matters because it helps fill gaps in a story that remains incomplete. What makes this mystery especially powerful is that it is not only about ancient objects, it is about people. Real communities lived, worked, celebrated, and built lives along these waters. Their descendants still carry cultural connections to the river today. The missing archaeological evidence represents missing chapters of human history. When a site disappears before it can be studied, part of that story becomes harder to recover. Yet despite the losses, remarkable discoveries continue to emerge. Researchers still uncover artifacts, ancient tools, and evidence of long-term human occupation throughout the Columbia River region. Each finding adds another piece to a puzzle that stretches back thousands of years. The mystery remains unsolved because the river refuses to reveal everything at once. Beneath the water may rest villages no one has seen for centuries. Beneath the mud may lie tools, waiting to tell forgotten stories. Beneath the reservoirs may be clues that completely change what we know about the earliest inhabitants of the region. And until those in the Sunday's western space, we forged our own path and waiting for food, recognizing. My opinion is that the most fascinating part of this mystery is not what has been discovered, but what remains hidden. We often think of history as something written in books, but along the Columbia River, much of history is literally underwater. The fact that entire chapters of human life may still be waiting beneath the surface makes this mystery feel alive. I believe future technology will reveal some of these secrets, but many answers may remain hidden forever. Today, the Columbia River is both a success story and a source of loss. On the positive side, it provides electricity, supports transportation, supplies water, and remains an important cultural and natural resource. Many archaeological sites have been documented and protected, and research continues. On the negative side, numerous ancient locations were submerged during dam construction. Some cultural sites cannot be accessed, and valuable historical evidence may have been permanently lost. At present, the river remains active, beautiful, and vital to the region, while beneath its waters, the mystery of its lost villages and forgotten past continues to wait in silence. Manis Mastodon Site. Picture yourself walking through the forests of Washington state, nearly 14,000 years ago. The land is colder than it is today. Huge trees cover the landscape, rivers cut through the wilderness, and massive animals roam freely. Among them is a giant mastodon, a relative of the modern elephant. It weighs several tons, carries long curved tusks, and seems almost unstoppable. Now imagine that this giant animal suddenly becomes the center of one of the greatest archaeological mysteries in North America. The mystery of the Manis Mastodon site is not just about an extinct animal. It is about the people who may have hunted it, the weapons they used, and what their existence could mean for the history of the first Americans. The story began in 1977 near the city of Second in Washington state. A man named Emmanuel Manis was digging on his property when he made a surprising discovery. Instead of finding ordinary rocks or soil, he uncovered enormous bones buried beneath the ground. Experts were called in to investigate. What they found was remarkable. The bones belonged to a mastodon that had died thousands of years ago. At first, this seemed like an exciting but fairly normal prehistoric discovery. Mastodon remains had been found before in different parts of North America. But then researchers noticed something unusual. One of the mastodon's ribs contained a strange object embedded inside it. The object looked like part of a weapon. If it truly was a weapon, it meant a human had attacked the animal long ago. That single discovery transformed an ordinary fossil find into a major mystery. Scientists immediately began asking questions. Who killed the mastodon? When did it happen? How did hunters manage to bring down such a massive creature? And perhaps most importantly, how old was the event? At the time, many archaeologists believed the earliest people in North America arrived around 13,000 years ago. This idea was widely accepted and supported by evidence from several famous archaeological sites. The Manis Mastodon site threatened to challenge that timeline. Researchers carefully studied the rib and the mysterious object inside it. Years passed as technology improved. Finally, advanced scientific testing revealed something astonishing. The object embedded in the rib appeared to be made from bone rather than stone. Even more surprising, evidence suggested it had been shaped into a spear point. In other words, the mastodon may have been struck by a weapon created by another mastodon bone. This was unlike anything researchers expected. The discovery suggested that ancient hunters were using sophisticated tools thousands of years earlier than many experts had believed. The dates associated with the site pointed to an age of around 13,800 years. If correct, humans were hunting mastodons in Washington long before the traditionally accepted timeline of North American settlement. That finding sparked intense debate. Some researchers accepted the evidence. Others remained skeptical. Science often works this way. Extraordinary claims require strong proof. Many experts wanted additional evidence before rewriting history books. Yet, the mystery continued to grow stronger. The more scientists studied the site, the more questions emerged. Imagine the scene. A group of ancient hunters encounters a giant mastodon. This is not a small animal. A mastodon is larger and stronger than anything most people today will ever see in the wild. Hunting such a creature would have been extremely dangerous. A single mistake could have resulted in serious injury or death. So how did they do it? Did they hunt alone or in groups? Did they use traps? Did they attack from a distance? Did they chase the animal into difficult terrain before striking? No one knows. The evidence tells us that the mastodon was wounded, but it does not reveal the entire story. That missing part of the story is where the mystery lives. Another fascinating question involves the hunters themselves. Who were they? What did they look like? Where did they come from? The Manis Mastodon site provides evidence that people were present, but it does not reveal their names, languages, beliefs, or traditions. These individuals lived so long ago that almost every detail about their lives has vanished. We know they were skilled enough to survive in a challenging environment. We know they understood animal behavior. We know they possessed knowledge of tool making. Beyond that, much remains unknown. One reason the site became so important is that it challenged older ideas about early human migration into North America. For many years, a simple explanation dominated archaeological discussions. According to that view, people crossed an ancient land bridge connecting Asia and North America and spread southward after massive ice sheets began melting. The Manis evidence suggested that human history might be more complicated. Perhaps people arrived earlier. Perhaps multiple groups entered the continent at different times. Perhaps migration routes were more diverse than previously believed. The site did not answer these questions directly. Instead, it forced researchers to ask them. That is often how major discoveries work. They create new mysteries while solving old ones. The mastodon itself also raises questions. Scientists believe the animal survived the attack long enough for healing to begin around the wound. Evidence suggests the spear point became embedded in the rib and remained there while the mastodon was still alive. This means the initial attack may not have killed it immediately. Think about that for a moment. A giant animal is struck by a spear. It survives. It continues living for some period of time. Eventually, it dies, and thousands of years later, its remains are discovered. That sequence of events creates a dramatic image, but it also leaves countless unanswered questions. What happened after the attack? Did the hunters track the animal? Did they attack again? Did it die from its injuries? Or did another cause eventually end its life? The evidence cannot provide definite answers. Another reason the mystery remains alive is because archaeological discoveries are often incomplete. Researchers rarely find an entire story preserved in the ground. Instead, they uncover fragments. A bone here, a tool there, a campsite somewhere else. Then they attempt to connect those pieces into a larger picture. At the Manis Mastodon site, some pieces are still missing. Those missing pieces leave room for debate. Even today, scientists continue discussing what the site tells us about the earliest Americans. Some view it as powerful evidence of very early human activity. Others argue that more discoveries are needed before drawing broad conclusions. That ongoing discussion is part of what makes the site so fascinating. The mystery is not frozen in the past. It continues evolving as new technologies emerge. Modern scientific methods have allowed researchers to examine the site in ways that were impossible decades ago. DNA analysis, advanced imaging, and improved dating techniques have all contributed new information. Future breakthroughs may reveal even more. Perhaps additional sites will be discovered that support the Manis findings. Perhaps new evidence will explain how ancient hunters lived and traveled. Perhaps we will eventually identify other hunting locations from the same period. For now, many questions remain unanswered, and that uncertainty keeps the mystery alive. What makes the Manis Mastodon site special is that it combines several mysteries into one. It is a mystery about ancient people, a mystery about hunting techniques, a mystery about migration, a mystery about survival, and a mystery about how much of human history still lies hidden beneath the ground. Every discovery at the site reminds us that history is not always as simple as it seems. The past can surprise us. Sometimes, a single rib bone buried underground for nearly 14,000 years can force scientists to rethink entire chapters of human history. That is exactly what happened here. In my opinion, the most fascinating aspect of the Manis Mastodon site is the human story hidden behind the evidence. The spear point and the mastodon bones are incredible discoveries, but they are really clues pointing toward real people who lived, hunted, and survived in a world that no longer exists. The fact that we know they were there, yet know so little about them, makes this mystery even more powerful. Today, the Manis Mastodon site is recognized as one of the most important archaeological locations in Washington state. On the positive side, the site has provided valuable evidence about early human activity, advanced scientific research, and helped expand our understanding of prehistoric North America. It remains a respected and protected location in archaeological studies. On the negative side, many questions remain unanswered. The original hunting event cannot be fully reconstructed, and researchers still lack enough evidence to identify exactly who the hunters were or how they lived. The present situation is that the site continues to be studied through preserved remains and scientific records, while the identity of the people who hunted the mastodon nearly 13,800 years ago remains one of Washington's greatest unsolved ancient mysteries.